As we get started, I want you to take a second and I want you to think about the goals, aspirations, and dreams that you have for your life personally. Those things that you want to accomplish. Maybe those are things that have been with you since you were a child. Maybe those are things that you've gotten passionate about in the past couple of years. But I want you to take a second and I want you to bring those to your memory. There are very few guarantees in life, but I can guarantee you this, and it's the title of our presentation today, is that no matter what your dreams are, there will be obstacles in the way for you to achieve those. And everybody knows an obstacle when they see one, but I always like to ask the dictionary, how would they define obstacle? Okay? One that opposes, stands in the way of, or holds up progress. I love that because it provides hope. And why is that? Because the words that it uses to describe itself are temporary, not permanent. All right? Obstacles are meant to be overcome. In my sport, that is all there is. It's about overcoming those obstacles and understanding how to get around those. Okay? So for me, I had some major obstacles in the way. I knew that and such. So for me, growing up, again, this is where I kind of peel back the curtain for you, right? I really didn't understand what I was learning in the classroom and how it applied to the real world. I just really didn't understand that. When it doesn't make sense to you, you could really care less. And my grades absolutely showed that. Did you notice that many of the things that Roger listed and some of the ones I listed were those very obstacles that we had put in our own way? If you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that in life, and the adults in here can tell you, that's usually the person that stops you or slows you down the most is you. What were my dreams? My dream was to become an extreme sports athlete, right? I was going to make tons of money. I was going to be in the magazines. I was going to do shows all over the country. Man, I was going to make money. And I didn't really have to have a real job. Isn't that the best thing ever? Y'all like, sign me up, right? Well, that's exactly what was my thought, right? Now understand, X Games was not built at the time. It did not exist. There were very few people in the world. You got to have two skills to do that. You got to be a really good rider, but you also have to be a good business person. And there were only a couple people in the world at that time who had both of those skill sets, okay? So in thinking about, well, here's what I want to do, my dad was a good influence on me to say, well, hey, that's great and all, you know, you're working on your bike stuff, well, you know, you need to kind of grab that other stuff too. So understanding that, and you heard all my obstacles, right? I had to make a connection. I had to be brutally honest with myself that where I wanted to be and where I was at were two totally different places, and I needed to make some changes for that. There needed to be a turning point for me. So here were the 3 points for me that I needed to realize. The first, I needed to be my best. Whether I was going to be an X Games athlete or have a regular job in the business world or as an educator or a counselor, whatever it was going to be, I needed to be awesome at that, right? Just needed to be. So I had to understand that. We'll talk a little bit about how I implemented that later. The second piece is I needed to put myself out there. I had to quit being afraid of failing and step out, right? Take a beating. It's okay. I'm not going to die, but I'm going to have to learn from that. And if I do, as long as I'm learning and growing, failing is not a bad thing. My dad used to say, and my brother, who was a national champion himself, used to say, you know, in our sport, if you're not wrecking, you're not trying hard enough stuff. Well, that's true. Because the best people, like you saw in there, they're trying crazy stuff. And when they can accomplish that, it makes everything else seem pretty easy. And the third thing is I began to apply the principle of APEF to everything that I did. And you're thinking, okay, well, you know, it's not E plus R equals O, but it's right in that same vein. So what is that? It's an acronym. It's an acronym that you can apply in your life to pretty much use no matter what struggle, challenge, or obstacle that is in front of you. So let's talk about that. So these are the things that you've got to get no matter what job that you're in to help you, okay? These things you're not going to learn next semester, second period. These are things that you're going to have to learn every day. The habits that you make, the decisions you make every day turn into habits, and these are the things that you got to have, right? Very, very, very important. How do you mess up a career? I can't tell you all these stories today, but I was in a job for 3 years where we had to let people go. Drug testing, let's be serious. If you do drugs, they're going to find out and you're going to get fired. Pretty basic. Criminal background checks. If you get in trouble, it's a bad day when you have to start answering a lot of questions about that. Pretty straightforward, right? Questionable material on social networking sites. You hear that all the time. Let me assure you, HR and recruiting people look at that. You can fib somebody for an hour and lie to them and they kind of believe it, but when they see your real life out there, that's who you really are, right? Lack of integrity. My ROTC guy mentioned that. Teamwork and interpersonal skills. That right there will get you a job and you're like, why is everybody else getting promoted and not me? Just because you're horrible at that. Make sure that's a good skill set. Inappropriate internet and electronic communication. Y'all, 4 blocks from here, I used to walk people out to their car holding a box of goods, which are their personal items. And they got to go home and explain to their spouse they got fired for looking at pornography. Or instant messaging people inappropriate stuff. Not just at our company, y'all. I talk to HR people at all companies. It exists everywhere. Can you imagine going home and getting to explain that? So I need one more volunteer as we finish up our presentation today. I saw I get. Did you just give me a woohoo? All right, how about this guy right here? Come on over, Rodney. So Rodney, what we're gonna do is put your head here and your feet kind of where my bike is. Is that fair? Yes? Real quick? Okay. Rodney, are you loving this? He's like, yeah, great. Yeah, and yeah, I know. Hey, look, it's totally clean up here. You're not gonna get dirty at all, right? So, definitely, we do this during our shows, and people hate when we do this. But, Rodney, what I'm thinking here, I'm not even gonna put these on, right? So, for me to come up to an employer and tell them I can do the job and never have proved to myself that they could, it's kind of like me just kind of like doing like that right there over his legs, right? I am gonna hop over you in a second, it's good, right? But what you gotta do is prove to people that you can do it, right? If they're gonna give you a chance, every time they give you an opportunity, you have to prove to them that you can do it. So Rodney, how about putting your feet together so I don't hit you in the face? Rodney! How you doing? All right? Best joke of the day. And you know, when they hire you, sometimes they put you in over some pretty important stuff. I know, that was so slow, all right? And Rodney, sometimes they put you over really important stuff like that or like this, right? Did you just flinch? He just flinched. Folks, let's give Rodney a big hand. I'm messing with him a little bit. So as we finish up today, here's something I want to tell you. Each day you make decisions that make you. And if we heard about today, every time we make those decisions, it's either moving us towards those dreams or it's moving us back away. So as you go about making yourself, make sure that you do it in such a way that you bring pride to yourself, your friends, your family, your school, and your state. God bless you guys. Thank you for having me.